Hey everybody, my name is Rydo, and today we're starting Disney's Alice in Wonderland, which is the live-action remake to the animated remake of the Lewis Carroll book, Alice in Wonderland, or Alice and Her Adventures in Wonderland, which I believe is the actual title of the first game. So, this is a movie tie-in from Disney, so you're kind of going 50-50 here. It's one of Disney's last in-house made games, I imagine, with I believe Disney Destiny. Was it called? No, it had to have been called something else, not Destiny. There was a Toys to Life game that Disney had that failed, and they shut down the whole system after that. But clearly this is a pretty modern game. It got all the settings done right, except for subtitles, which is fair enough. Kids probably aren't going to want to put it. It detected our my Xbox One controller immediately, although it did choose for a first or second player option right at the beginning, which is slightly interesting that this is a two-player game, particularly when we see what characters we end up playing with as, at least at the beginning. As far as sound, I'm going to try and leave everything the same, and hopefully I've got it right. As far as English, this might be one of those rare instances where English actually uses the United States flag instead of the British flag. Almost all other games more accurately and I think appropriately use the British flag for English, unless you're going to try to make a claim that modern English as spoken in the UK has drifted so far away that now English in the United States is the appropriate and closer to the more ancient English that was spoken in the old days of England, which is true, but not really a valid argument to make either. We don't really have to do any other setup, so let's just begin. There's a lot of cutscenes, and it seems like this is one of those games like the Telltale games, although this is a Disney Interactive game, not a Telltale game. There's some similarities I see here with the two-player co-op, which that may just be kids games in general that you assume that it's going to be at least two-player co-op, either a parent or a child and his siblings, or his friends. But it also feels like they took all the voice acting from the movie and cut it up, did CG versions of scenes that I know are in the movie, and made those the cutscenes on the cheap, which isn't a terrible thought. Kind of long load times too, we'll see here. We're playing as this character McTwist, who is apparently a white rabbit, but maybe not the white rabbit that we know and love from the cartoon. Like, this kind of looks like the White Rabbit, but he's kind of dressed differently. But maybe they just did a different thing.
I demand an answer.
So, here's what you don't do when you propose marriage to somebody. Don't demand an answer immediately, or the answer should be no.
Marriage is a big step, Hamish.
So, this movie...
I need a moment.
I guess I was wrong.
I really can't bear it up here a
it
moment
really
longer.
isn't a remake of the cartoon or the book. No, that was totally wrong. It was an attempt at a continuation of the story, but having Alice be an adult woman who is played by an adult actress, so you don't have to work with children. We see some scenes here in a second that are just kind of repetitions of things that happened in the first time, but even in those scenes they say this all happened before. So in a real way they should have named the movie Alice in Wonderland like 3
Hello?
or 2.
Hello? Anyone here?
Let me see. Must be.
And the video game, of course, is going to take it even further than
If this is some sort of
from
prank,
the story
I'm not
than it was
amused.
before. I kind of would have preferred, honestly, to play an Alice in Wonderland game based either on the novel or the animated movie. The animated movie being very old, and Disney's new attempt to take all their old animated movies that are in danger of becoming public domain and no longer under their copyright,
She's found the potion.
so that they would be able to sell them at a high markup from
you
the
may have
Disney
done it,
vault.
It might actually be. Oh, no, not again.
So
What's
here's
happened?
the secondary
drank the potion.
character
But left
that
the key on
the
the
second
table.
player would play as.
Exactly so. You
a
think she'd have remembered
character
that
I've
from the
never
first time.
seen
The cake.
before.
Has she eaten the cake? Yes. Good. She's. Oh my! She's enormous.
And this scene in particular makes
the
it seem
potion
like
again.
there's kind of a puzzle video game-esque
That's
system
it.
to getting into Wonderland in the first
I'm not
place,
so sure she's.
which
She's the right one.
I don't
Malcolm.
believe is how
I'm
it works
certain of it.
in the
We should
sequel
follow
book
her.
through the Looking Glass, or like that idea of always starting in the same place and going in different places. Achievement
Where did you
unlocked.
go?
New
There
bonus.
must be a door here
unlocked.
somewhere.
View achievements in the menu. So immediately you get an achievement. I will admit I had a problem where I filled up my hard drive as I was playing this the first time, and because of that there was this element where I've played this for about 30 minutes before, and so I know some of these things, but you don't really need to know them now, other than the idea
Which door did she go through?
at a certain point
She
we're
went through
probably
an Alice
coming
door.
back to
It
this.
must be her.
There's a door in the floor here, so there'll be some level of manipulating space. There's a Mad Hatter stand right here. It seems like you can even maybe get something to that. There's a door up at the top there, and then this actually shifts to stretch out. It shifts the focus in a filming element to make the hallway scene longer, and then it does a secondary trick where it shrinks the main character and expands everything, so it's way bigger. Then about right here it stops doing that trick and just shifts the focus some more. Perhaps there's something under here. Nope, just an invisible wall. So this feels like a main hub, and we'll discover several elements that will allow us through the main hub. But you're not playing as Alice, and that seems kind of crazy, doesn't it? Doesn't that just seem a little crazy? Yeah, and that door just put you back in where you were. And jumping down the hole kills you. Did we look at everything? Yeah. All the doors closed back. So, yep. And what's funny is, after you follow this point, it's another cutscene. I'm pretty sure. Like you run into cutscenes very quickly. And you run into load screens very quickly, too. So, unlike, say, a Telltale... No, not Telltale. I'm thinking Traveler's Tales games, TT games, the ones that make the Lego games. Unlike the Lego games that have a lot going on, this one seems like it's trying to stretch a little bit. It keeps stepping on bugs. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, or if that matters at all. We do find out you can hit these. You found your first impossible idea. Collect a lot of them to buy upgrades. So he swings his big pocket watch around, and he can break things. The truth of the matter, however, is that breaking these elements are not really worth your time, and if you die, you kind of lose everything. Or you lose such a significant amount of things that it doesn't really matter. And of course, when I was filling up my hard drive and screwing up in that fashion, some of the cutscenes and some of the gameplay started getting very slow and stuttery, and I kept thinking, oh, there's something wrong with this game. It's not working. If we see some of that now, we'll know it's the game, but I imagine we won't see any of that. So hitting the grass pays off a lot better than breaking elements. So it's a weird system you have. You press Y and it does things, but it kind of Y brings up a cursor, and if there's something in your sights, you can use your special ability. But if there's nothing, it just kind of doesn't work. And you can break small plants, but not other plants, and I guess we could see if this breaks for what that's worth. But doing this actually is proven to be completely pointless in a second, because you find elements in this level that are going to have you come back and play either but when you are leveled up with this currency that you're collecting, this in-game currency that allows you to break things. You'll find several other things too that you just can't interact with. And we assume we're in the Red Queen's garden here, so smashing things is probably not a good move. And so you'll run into these floating things, and then it hitting Y says, this requires telekinesis. You don't have telekinesis. So the solution becomes kind of obvious. And these flowers very well might be interactable with. This wall might open at some point in the future. But right now, your main job is to figure out where you're going by hitting Y and spinning it, and you get some more ideas. And we can read them, and it says this way with the X button. At least for a while. So, as a kid's game, you start out alright here, but it is a little slow to have a cutscene immediately at the beginning. So this requires invisibility. You don't have invisibility yet. They're clearly saying you're going to come back and do this later.
Which way now?
So, you get into certain points on the path of this maze, and it tells you where it wants you to go. So one assumes that is the only valid path, and it puts all of the plants downward in an odd fashion. It's kind of like I guess they're just magical. I suppose there's nothing more or less to explain it. I gotta freeze that. So there's your first enemy character.
Hello? Anyone here?
And we're back to a cutscene,
Curious dream.
which feels very much like the these are directly from the movie, except for the mouse, the mice is talking.
Curious
Mouses.
and curious.
I told you it was her.
And they're getting dangerously close with that over large
She's not even wearing
clothing.
the right dress.
Who's not her? And who are you, if I may ask?
It's like dangerously close to wardrobe malfunction.
I was so sure.
Wait,
Particularly for a kids game.
A talking white rabbit in a waist.
You can even see here in this cutscene they've put a underwear
If she was the real Alice, you would. You
item
got the wrong one, McTwist.
on her so nothing goes wrong.
We should find Absalom and ask him. He's wise. He'll be able to tell us who she really is.
But I know who I am. I'm Alice.
Absalom will be the judge of that.
So they introduced this character
Absolute.
I've not heard of,
Do try to keep up. Wonderland
and I'm hearing a
has
lot of
become really
echo.
dangerous since the Red Queen took
So
the crown.
I don't know if that's important or not. But take note, like we're kind of in a tutorial mode, but we really haven't done anything. And now, instead of playing as Alice, you would think that's what you would be doing here. She's just following you kind of helplessly. So here we go. And we're back into another cutscene that's an introduction. So, what you want to do is just freeze them and run. That's all there is to it. Now I'm...
Has that thing gone?
I think so.
Now that did take me several minutes to beat the first time. You know why? Because I kept going up to him and trying to hit him, and every time I hit him, he would just hit me back and cause me damage. And I thought I was actually in a boss fight that you would typically expect from a
This
video
way.
game, and instead it's you must find your path from a higher place. Interesting, you can press X to read the same thing. And this needs telekinesis, and that needs telekinesis, and that needs telekinesis. So there's a whole level of things to... Let's see, if I go up here and then jump up here... Well, we know where to go.
It's that way. I can see the gate, Mally.
Over here!
And it gives you even this fog to show you where to go. I'm at 250 collectibles. They might as well just be Lego studs. This might as well be a Lego game. Well, frankly, though,
At last, a way out.
in a Lego game, this would have a lot more things you could break, a lot more things you could interact with, puzzles and toys and things
Hello?
at this point.
I think it's this way.
I suppose the good news is,
It's them.
we're in the cutscene yet again, by the way, is that in a video game you can kind of go crazy and add things to their own in the original story.
Look, they're
But
here.
the truth of the matter is that since this was their own continuation of Alice in Wonderland, they really didn't have to, Disney really didn't have to change anything, have to follow any rules. They could have added or changed anything more. So you can hit B when playing single player to switch between the other characters. Now he doesn't have any special abilities, so no time freeze. However, you can see I get a never hit bonus and a 2+ combo.
Red Knights. Nothing for you to worry about. We won't let them hurt you.
What a relief, thank you.
And see, this character now says different things to Alice than the other characters.
What a strange little weed.
And so these
No
plants
time to
will talk to you.
The red gardener's pruning soon. Oh, we're doomed.
So I'm going through this a little bit faster than what I did. the first time.
I'm afraid
Which
I have
is
nothing to
kind
say
of
to you.
Shameful, since this is just a straight line. There's no side paths that you can really do anything with. So this Rose is very old, and we can talk to this young Rose.
You seem a little
And so you get a
lost.
cutscene,
May I
and it
help
is a
you?
little herky-jerky.
I do hope so. We need to get through
And
this
see, that
gate.
doesn't make
These
any
awful
sense
thorns
right
are in
now
our way.
because
Do you
there's
know a
no
way
way my
past?
hard drive is full
I
this
certainly
time.
do.
This is exactly
Speak with
where it started
Rosemary,
before.
that withered old flower in amongst the brambles.
But she looks fast asleep. How do I wake her up?
Do you know the song Jabberwocky?
Jabberwock and what?
Jabberwocky. Sing the song and she'll wake up.
And see,
But I don't know any song named Jabberwock and up.
I don't know why they called this Jabberwockin' Up, because I assume this is a made-up song, and just for the game. And the Jabberwocky is like a monster that she fights in the books. So here's Alice sitting here being distressed. And we'll see if this guy sings, because last time it was this character that sang. So we'll see if we can, how different it will sound.
It goes like this. Jabberwocky.
Oh, my painted petals. What time is it?
It's late, Rosemary, and getting later. Can you open these gates for us? We need to see Absalom.
Absalom? Whatever
So
for?
it's not really
I think
even
we
a song,
found
it's
Alice,
just say the
that
word.
little girl from years ago, remember?
When he says we, he means him. I'm not so sure it's her.
And I don't get the,
Alice, you
I
said?
don't have an idea
Where
whether
is
the
she?
little mouse is
Show
male
her
or
to me.
female. At all. So left bump calls her to her, which kind of tells you
Hurry
you're
up,
never
girl.
gonna play as her. Which kinda sucks.
So, Miss Alice, is it? Underland is probably rather different from the last time you were here, no?
It's called Underland.
I'm afraid I
Instead
don't
of
remember being here
Wonderland.
before. Actually, I feel quite lost.
Lost? But if you're lost, why don't you use your Alice thread?
Alice thread? I've never heard of...
Excuse me. Rosemary, can you just open the gate?
So
we
maybe
can get
eventually
through?
we'll play as
Absalom
Alice and
is
she'll
waiting.
have an Alice thread, which is
I
a
wish I
breadcrumb
could,
trail to
but I
tell
don't think
you
I can.
where you need
Look
to
at me.
go.
I've been here such a long time. My branches are practically fused to this infernal gate.
Time can be so terribly cruel. Don't fret. I'll fix him.
Now, with some historical perspective now, having known what they did with the live-action remake of Beauty and the Beast, what Disney did, at least this Alice in Wonderland movie, which wasn't very well received to my knowledge, and I didn't really like it, at least it tried to do something different. It tried to add to the story, and the idea of having Alice return to a Wonderland many years later works as an idea.
Upon
On
my
paper.
word, Mr. McTwisp, thank you.
It just didn't
Through
work
the
in
gate you go,
implementation.
And do give my regards to Mr. Absalom when you see him.
I think the main problem is the fact that a story set in a fantastical world like Wonderland shouldn't be animated. There are just some things that animation makes more sense in. And when, in so many instances, in so many companies, attempts to make things to make things live action, it just doesn't work. You could say like the Ghost in the Shell movie that was live action really didn't work in live action, really didn't add anything to it. And certainly there's a lot of things like that. And I think Disney is going down a very odd way just to keep a license to things that they didn't really own the rights to anyways, because Disney literally became a huge company by making animations on public domain stories like Alice in Wonderland or Beauty and the Beast. And then they've lobbied the United States government to extend copyright in such a way that they can forever make more money off something that they really didn't create that much. Sure, they had some underpaid animators, all who are either retired or died by now, that actually made those cartoons, like Bambi, for example. Look at the Alice freaking out over there. But nowadays, if you bought a Blu-ray or DVD of Bambi, there's really no royalties going to the voice actors, I would bet. There's really no money or royalties going to any of the, like, animators or anybody else who actually had an active hand in creating that. All of that money towards the sale of something like Bambi is going to mostly just a bunch of corporate suits, or funding, maybe funding the development of the next Disney thing. But when's the last time Disney's even made anything that people have really wanted? They keep doing weird things lately. So we have this Alice thread. It seems like we won't be playing as Alice. Instead, we will just be using her Alice thread, which is like an unnecessary to this point ability, because you're just not going to run into an issue so far where you can do anything other than walk forward. And see, I feel like I have a lot more points than I did the first time I played this. And this is about as far as I got the first time I recorded this. And I started to realize something was wrong because it was giving me an error when I was trying to save the file. You saw I saved the file this time. It did it just fine. It seems a little bad programming for a modern game, and this is a relatively modern kids game. It seems odd that there's no auto-saving happening, particularly for kids games. I could have just walked by that place and it could have auto-saved. It doesn't, like, the next generation of video game players, I just don't think they're gonna ever heavily need to know how to save and load a game. And this doesn't feel like a game where you could make a mistake and you would need to load to a previous save file anyways. And you can even kind of see that because they only gave you 5 save slots. If this was a game that would require multiple saves, it would be more unlimited or less limited. Move closer to the chest piece. Well done, you found a special item. And clearly this game is one of those games that's going to be full of collectibles. We can see all these chests over there, and it's going to be full of giving achievements. So to buy upgrades, we can buy an enemy freezing there, but I think you also have to unlock things. And in general, there will be 3 unlocks that are pawn pieces. There will be 3 pieces for McTwist, 3 pieces that are done for McMalley, 3 pieces for another character, 3 pieces for another character, and then 3 pieces for a third unknown character. Which tells us, like, this game isn't going to be that long either. And I think we'll have some replayability, but I don't know how much. Also, that was only 250, so I have like 714 right now that'll just be lost if I die. So that's some weirdness too. And now this cutscene is still
aggressive. Quick, too.
a little...
Can you not slow them down?
Well, yes, of course I can. Just be careful, that's all.
It really feels like the first couple of cutscenes were specially made to run well, and then they just stop caring. And I haven't played enough Disney interactive games to know if that is the typical that they do kind of a bad job on making games for PC. It's probably the case. It would make a lot of sense because these are clearly console first creations. The sales for PC games for little kids are infinitesimally small right now. It's much easier to put a kid in front of a console or TV and let the parents use their more expensive computers, even if the parents are just playing video games themselves. So our second real challenge is either going to be killing these guys or slowing them down and walking past them. We can see that there's some fighting skills with some kind of help cutscenes, and 3 more skills that Malcolm, if that's how you pronounce that mouse's name, he's already got time control and enemy freezing, so each of these is something. The combo is slightly interesting because I'm not sure. You just tap X repeatedly and it counts as a combo. And apparently you can lock on an enemy, and it hasn't even told us that yet. And sorry, my dialogue came up on my computer and took the focus away from the game, which would kind of suck. To see Alice's thread, Alice's call are general things, and switching, so we've already learned that. And then impossible ideas collections are just during any point in the game you'll collect impossible ideas. And then the options here are not any different than what we had before, so we don't have to look at that. And the achievements are interesting because they are actually built into the game, so you kind of know what you need to do already. And I imagine a lot of this is some of it is spoilers. Well, actually, like, get Alice's armor to unlock, that is probably the end of the entire story. And then the rest of this is just open 205 chests, open 17 big chests, collect 50,000 impossible ideas, defeat 50 enemies. That some of these seem low, some of these seem big. 18 chess pieces, that's all there are. 18 upgrades, cut 1,000 pieces of vegetation, destroy 300 pieces of furniture, so apparently the benches didn't count. Defeat 10 mosquitoes, 7 pigs, 5 lizards. Unless these have different levels after the first one, it seems like you're very likely to get all of the achievements somewhere close to like halfway through the game. Knock down 15 paintings, that might be like the most difficult one. So we've gone 30 minutes. That's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask that you like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to friend or follow me on basically any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.